Welcome to season 2, episode 2 of the After Conversation to Kings Speak, Queens Glean. So if you tuned in on Tuesday, we had Marcus Brown, amazing producer, actor, father, husband, and group home owner, tell us all about men and their feelings, from how they are raised to how to communicate with his children and his wife. And you know how we do, y'all. It's time for the queens to talk about it. So let's dive in to Queens Glean. What's going on, y'all? As I just told you, this is the After Conversation to Kings Speak, Queens Glean. So y'all know how we do. We just have a good time up in here. And we love to see if we're picking up what the men are putting down. So let's dive in and get our panel in here. It's always a good time. We didn't have her last week, but we got her today. Ever growing, new projects, getting it popping. We got Queen Cookie in the building. What up, girl? Nice to
Hey.
see you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you on, girl.
I know. I feel like it's been forever.
I know. And you know how we do. We got a whole panel with us. So, of course, we have Mrs. Surrender Sessions, a.k.a. Surrender Society, who always has a word. Let's give it up for Keandra. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm actually not sure. I think Key Renee is coming, but if not, that's okay. I didn't remember if I connected with her. It's been a long week. Okay.
Same. Long week. Oh my goodness.
Just checking in, ladies. How are you feeling? Queen Cookie, we'll start with you. I know you said you had a long week. What's going on?
Yeah, it's just been a long week. It's my birthday week.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Just dealing with that and just a new year, just trying to get it going, I just feel like the first week I was super relaxed, and then now I'm just trying to play catch up, and that just makes this week feel so long.
You ain't never lied. How you feeling, Keandra? What you got going on?
I don't have too much going on, but I do feel a little bit more energized than I did last week. I think maybe Cookie, you're going through the week that we had last week, where you were kind of like, okay, now I'm having to get into like work and being productive and all that stuff again. And so I think now that I'm kind of getting back more into my rhythms, I'm feeling a little bit more like, all right, this wasn't as chaotic as last week. So feeling a little bit better, but feeling good.
I love it. I love to hear it. I can definitely tell that I'm being tested a lot. And I'm not mad at it, because I feel like I'm actually doing a good job. Just not being out of pocket, not being too dramatic, letting myself feel what it is I feel, but actually using wisdom to navigate everything that's being thrown. And it's not bad, but I'm just like, there's a lot of testing going on this week. And Keandra, I know you and I talked about it. It's almost like a ruffling up of things. Yes. Just to see if everything's going to land or what's going to blow away, what's staying, what's going, like, what are we doing? So I am feeling that.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of that same energy, I think, happened for, just the collective in 2020. And I know I've been feeling it. Jaimi and I, we had a separate side conversation, but yeah, I've definitely been feeling it, with work, with relationships, with friendships, with, just all of it. It just is all, there's basically just kind of being a rumbling, and it's come in its own ways through, death, through, disagreements, through just realizing that something may or may not work anymore, like just even feeling like a certain type of energy behind certain work and certain routines and certain things. It's just like, a lot of that stuff is just done with and still being shaken up. So be gentle with yourselves, y'all.
You are all in my business with that.
I think it's something in the universe, because that's like everywhere right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Woo. Well, it's good to always be with you guys. I know I've got my wine, because why not? Okay, why not?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Y'all didn't tell me? Oh, hell no. Y'all didn't tell me?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Y'all didn't tell me.
Oh.
We should
Here's
just
my
keep that going. I think
here's my
Thursday's just a good day to have a
my empty
drink.
glass. Cheers.
So this was really fun. I decided to call this last King Speak, How Are You Feeling, Mr.? So those of you tuning in, if you haven't seen King Speak, we filmed it on Tuesday. You can just click King Speak here on YouTube and catch the replay. I think you'll find a lot of value in it. But I was doing a Clubhouse. I don't know if y'all are into Clubhouse right now, but I'm actually having a good time and finding value. And we got into this long conversation. I mean, there were so many men and women in there sharing. I ain't even gonna lie, we was on that Clubhouse chat for 8 hours, and that's where I met Marcus. Yeah, 8. Yeah, no lunch break. So
Wow.
when I tell you there was so much power in
Did you go pee?
yeah, because you're just on the phone. I didn't even look cute. I was in the bed at one point. I was like, if y'all want to keep going, it's cool. Let me just tuck myself in. But it just
Yeah,
shows
that's
the
a lot.
power, of conversation and understanding. So let's just dive right into the conversation. Marcus is an actor and producer. He's got some projects out there, a pilot being shot, and all of this stuff. And so, what did you guys think of Marcus overall as a whole, if you were able to catch the full episode?
I loved his transparency. I mean, it really I honor people, men especially, because just, even just how this entire topic came about, it's not often that we hear men talk about their feelings. And so for him to have the courage to come on and talk about, just the ways that he's learned how to be a better man, a better husband, a better father, the path and the ways that he's gotten there through the therapy, through counseling, through spending time on his own, all of that. Like I just applaud him for his transparency and, and thank him for sharing that, for sharing his heart in the moment. Cause I could definitely tell like he was sorting through, just his feelings and his thoughts in the moment. So it definitely seemed to be coming from a real honest place. So I appreciated that and definitely gained something from it. So thank you, Marcus.
Yes, love
Yeah,
it.
very similar. I mean, I've mentioned this before. That's probably my favorite part of Queens Glean. I'm sorry, King's Speak is the aspect of men coming on and telling the hard part, the part that people don't talk about, the depressions, the self-development, the emotional, things that they had to go through to even get to where they are. And that's where I feel like this is so powerful for men to tap into, because you can see how other men are doing this and get in line. So, shout out to Marcus and all the rest of the kings that have been on here and just shared nuggets and gems that you won't really hear, because men don't have these conversations. They're not. And so, just to see that and on a platform like this that anybody can click in at any time is just fantastic.
Fantastico. Well, I have to agree. Marcus was amazing. And just hearing him speak in the Clubhouse, I was like, oh, I have to have him on, because this is kind of the stuff that we're not talking about. So I'm going to just preface some of the stuff that I didn't get clips for, just so you guys get an idea. But the reason why I was so interested in talking to him is because it's like, he spoke about how his family and his upbringing, and actually was him and his sister that were affected by this, but they weren't loved on and hugged on and told, I love you, and all of these things. So now to grow up, he's not telling, at one point, he wasn't telling his kids, like, I love you so much. He's not grabbing them, holding them, hugging them. And, we kind of see that type of nurturing being feminine. But as we all know, we need that from our moms and our dads, whether it's our biological father or mother, or whoever's in our household. The love, the verbiage, the action, it's all of it. Not just, I go to work, I put food on the table, I love you. It's like, well, you didn't say it. Some people need to hear it. Some people need to feel it. And to hear his struggle in having to learn how to do this while married, while hearing his kids be like, Daddy, you're mean. And it's like, his heart is breaking. Like, what you mean? Like, so having to access other parts of himself that he was not able to access because he just didn't grow up like that. And then on top of it, if you don't have the right friends, community, mentors, and all of these things, you find yourself figuring it out mid-marriage, which is challenging as well. So that's just to preface that why I thought it was like, oh my God, let me talk to him because that's nuts. You never, think about that stuff. And sometimes when we're in relationship with men, whether it be at work or a personal relationship, you're like, why are they so cold? Or what are they not getting? Or how is this not clicking for them? And can they see me? Where's the compassion? All of these things. But again, having the conversation with the men and then us coming in, it's an opportunity to see just why. So, our first topic, I decided to call the power of listening. It's something that's underestimated. Most of us are professionals and hosts, so we have to listen. But let's dive in to see what he said about the value of listening. And there's actually 2 videos, but I'm going to play the first one first.
I've learned to listen and not be so defensive. That was one of my things. I learned that in the marriage, not while we were dating. Because when we dating, you got a chance to leave. Well, you know what? I'm mad at you and go about your business. But when you in the house and you can't leave, you got to face yourself. And one of my things was I was always defensive, and I had to learn to listen. And it's been a little better. It's been much better. Not a little better. It's been much better.
So admirable.
Yes. So just what do you think about the clip in general?
So admirable. I mean, you know how many men would have fled the marriage because they just didn't want to look at themselves in the mirror? And so that was super admirable for him to say, I'm committed to this. And so I'm committed to changing myself because that's what's going to help this marriage. And I mean, I saw myself all up and through that clip because I was like, ooh, sometimes, that was me in my past. And like, I would just go, because I it's easier to flee than it is to say I'm at fault or it's something that, so I was just like, I just wanted to just applaud him for, sticking it out and sticking it through because that's so hard. I mean, that's so, it's so easy to run. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at in my life is learning to not flee and to stay. But like he said, he had to work it out in a marriage. That's because someone else was involved. And when someone else's feelings are involved, that's even 10 times harder because you're not even just dealing with self now. You're dealing with other people and there's kids involved and there's families involved. And, it's a lot. So just kudos to him for having the willpower to stay through that storm.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said. And I'll add, the thing that stood out the most for me and is even something that I've had to learn over time is listening to someone without the defensiveness. So basically that means that I'm listening to understand as opposed to listening to respond or, basically coming up and rehearsing what I'm going to say before, I've actually really just sat with what it is that whoever it is speaking to me, what they're sharing. And that I think it takes a lot of humility, and just what Cookie was talking about of, if you're wanting to work out the things that are, the discord or whatever's happening in a relationship, you have to actually stick to it, but also have like a certain sense of humility, to where you're not immediately trying to respond to be right or to prove your point or to, kind of be the last one to have the final word, right? You're basically just listening to hear maybe where are there some areas where there could be some truth, and even just hearing whoever else's heart, it is because you just genuinely care, and it's not about who's winning the battle, but how can we get out on the other side of this and still, have our relationship intact. So yeah, that was very powerful for sure.
I love that. What both you guys said is so right. And, it makes me, I can say one thing, like we often curse like the season of singleness or I've been single and it's been so this and that. And I've found for myself, because I've been that person, okay. And I've found recently, especially, I feel so much more relaxed that I'm not yet in relationship, because I not only do I know what's going to happen, but I'm learning what is being developed in me to even be equipped to handle something long lasting like this. So even Keandra, when you say not speaking to react and be right in the last word, I can admit I've been a prideful woman. You know, I'm a Gemini, I'm creative, I'm competitive. There's all these things, but we have to learn when to put that down and when to genuinely be open and available to receive and to hear someone's heart. And that does take a posture. It takes a grace. It takes maturity to just, you know, kind of let somebody come at you in sort of a way, even if they're saying you're wrong. Because one of the questions was, you know, not only do you need to listen to your partner, but one, are we equipped to face ourselves? Because the second part of that is like, can we be so defensive and closed? I really don't like hearing about myself in a particular way, because I work so hard to be this, I try to be that, blah, blah, blah. So you feel like I'm showing up my best and you're still complaining. But that's not the attitude that is going to make things work. So do you feel like in your season of singleness, or even now, you guys have gotten to a place where you feel like not only can you take corrective and constructive criticism, but that you're equipped to face yourself? If somebody tells you something that you don't like, can you really digest that and be like, okay.
Now I can. I used to not be able to do that. I used to fire off right back. Like, oh, I'm this. Oh, you're that. let me tell you about yourself. Damn it. While you over here trying to read me my rights, I'm going to read you your rights right back. So yeah, I was very defensive as well. That's why I said I saw so much of myself in his clip. But then after my last breakup, the one that was like huge, because this was my child's father, this was like the big one. Like, you know, this one was like, okay, now maybe like, you know, the common denominator is not always the man. You know, what else is there? What else is part of this equation? And it was me. God damn it, it was me. You know, and the part of it was the part that I didn't want to hear. It was a part that everybody was trying to tell me. Family members, my ex, everybody was just trying to tell me all these things. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Because I didn't see myself as that. But then when you find yourself alone by yourself and you're like, oh my God, maybe I am that person that they said that I was. And so, yeah, this past year, I was like single. I mean, I'm still single, but this past year I was single and just sitting with like, I took everything that everybody said and I actually like played it out. And I was like, oh God, like they were right, you know, they were right. So, and then I got some therapy, and then my therapist was agreeing with them, and I was like, no, you're supposed to be on my side.
Right.
Like, you know,
I'm paying for this.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this is not right now. And then it was like a hard pill to swallow. I was like, oh wow, like I was really being a brat, like, or I was really being selfish in these situations, or I was really bringing childhood trauma to the table in this situation, or I was really bringing past relationships to the, you know. And then I was like, ugh, like I was acting a damn fool, like, you know. And so, yeah, in this season of singleness, I'm like, I finally learned that I was acting a damn fool, and all the pointing the fingers and the pointing of the blame and all of that, it was right here, you know. It was right here. And I'm not saying there's no fault in some of, you know, my past exes, because yes, there is. But yeah, a lot of it was me. And that was the hardest pill. I'm still trying to swallow it. It's right here stuck in my throat. You know, it's right here. I'm still trying to get it down. But it's going down. It's going down. You know, I gotta swallow some more water. But you know, that was hard, and I'm still working through that.
Yeah. And the pills for me keep coming, you know, like
Don't they though? They do.
There's nothing like, being in a relationship, it is the mirror. And so it's almost like a constant reflection of seeing yourself. And so it does again take maturity and exercising humility to be able to be like, okay, where is the truth in, whatever it is that's being dished out. But there's so much value in that season of singleness too, when you can basically be on the other side and maybe just reflecting back on who you were in, that previous relationship, and how you can learn through it. And, a lot of the childhood trauma that we bring and have no idea that that's even what it is. I mean, I know for me, it wasn't even obvious until I got into therapy, where it was like, oh, that's from when I was 6.
Didn't even know I was there.
Yeah,
Didn't even know I was there.
You have no idea. And, and we all have blind spots that we're not going to be made aware of until we're in relationship, whether that's an intimate romantic one or one with our friends, or, certain colleagues and different, partners that we can actually trust. You know what I'm saying? To speak that back to us with love. Because of course, there's always people who don't necessarily mean as well. And, they can have their criticisms or whatever. But when it's coming from, a place of love, and you've heard it, or a particular type of version of it multiple times, most likely there's some truth to it.
Man,
I wasn't trying to hear all that.
Man, we could almost stop right there, because that, it was a lot. And it's so true. And I was going to ask you guys, have you ever felt like your partner wasn't hearing you, and how did it make you feel? Like, what was the byproduct of some of that energy? Because I know for me, I'm learning how not to shut down, because that doesn't serve either. So how do you stay open and push through being what you feel is like slighted at the time? So do you feel like you've ever had a partner that wasn't hearing you, and how did it make you feel, and how do you react, and how do you deal with that?
Yes, definitely. I have had a partner that did not hear. And it was really hard, because it led to, there already is a thing where I was suppressing emotions and not necessarily sharing things in the moment, because, sometimes that can be a survival tactic in certain areas. And so you just kind of, continue that in your relationships and your intimate ones. And, over time, I think that also was something that it was kind of being reinforced, where it was like, well, what's the point of even saying anything? Because while I'm saying it, you're not hearing me anyway. And so it basically led to me either acting out, to giving, the silent treatment that would last it could last as long as it needed to,
Couple of days.
Couple days, few days, a week, and, it eventually, I mean, the relationship ended up not working out, but it definitely was something where I learned after, several years after that, the emotions and the things that we're feeling, they don't go anywhere, until we actually deal with it, it sticks with us and it stays with us. And so you have to do something with those emotions, whether that's talking to someone else, journaling, meditating, going to the beach, screaming, hitting a pillow, whatever. Like, it has to get released and expressed somehow, because it doesn't go anywhere, So that relationship in particular was one of the ones where I learned how suffocating suppression can be, and how deadly, it can really be, because it can also manifest, in your physical body, in different ways. And this can even be in a parental relationship or relationships with siblings, it doesn't even have to just be that romantic place. But, when you're in a situation where you're not expressing yourself, whether it's directly to that person or just, allowing whatever it is that you're feeling to be expressed, it's gonna come out in some way, and be rage, cutting somebody off, in traffic, cussing somebody else out, going into some emotional outbursts, whatever it is, it's definitely gonna rise to the surface.
Yes.
Agree. I think
Agreed.
that's where my aggression came out in other ways. You know, it was like, oh, you don't want to listen to me? I'm not fucking cooking tonight. Oh, okay. You don't want to listen to me? We ain't having sex, bro. Like, you know, like I just would
Man.
act out in different ways. It was like tit for tat, more like, okay, you're not gonna hear me. Well, I don't hear you either. You know, and that's just cause for like destruction in all ways. But you know, like Keandra said, like we have to get those stuff out. And so all I was doing was, instead of getting it out, I was keeping it in. And then I was bottling up other emotions through other ways, you know. And so you have all of these things going on, and it's just causing more and more of this, like, you know, you have that carpet, you keep sweeping everything on that carpet, you know, your dirt's up to here at some point. You're like, what are we doing? And the relationship's over. It's over. There's no doing anything with that pile of dirt.
Exactly. Then you start to smell it, wonder where it's coming from, and you're like, I got to clean this whole thing up. And what both of you said was, you know, so very true. And I definitely feel like, yeah, all of those things, because if you don't let it out and you don't express yourself, you get to a space where you're punishing your partner. That doesn't work. It always backfires and the thing ends when really it could have probably been taken care of with really great communication, but also comprehension, and two people who are willing to get there no matter what it takes. Because I know for me, yeah, I internalize it. Like, they don't care. They don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't want, and now I got this whole story in my head about they don't want to be with me anymore. They probably don't love me. It's not, why? What, like, can we, you know what I'm saying? It is just, it's an immaturity. And I really just think it's something you have to learn. You know, I personally have to learn to not only be vulnerable, but use my words and say, when I feel like you're not listening to me, it makes me feel like I want to retract. It makes me feel like I want to shut down. So that coldness that you're feeling is because I need to speak. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really important. There's so much power in listening. And since we are talking about safe spaces to either vent, open up, find, you know, a soundboard or have accountability, that takes us to our next clip, which we will jump into now. And this is all about the benefit of community.
I think so for me, I had to, before I met my wife and my best friend, my brother.
Oh, wrong one. Hold up.
Okay, let me start here. Us as men have to say it's okay to talk to each other about what we're scared of. It's okay to say that. But you have to pick your circle where you can do this. Because if you out there in the street, niggas ain't gonna want to hear that. I ain't got time to be feeling. You know what I'm saying? So pick your circle, detach yourself from what you know is not going to progress you anywhere, and find you a community of men. The saying was, every man needs a man. Mm-hmm. That means somebody that you can be accountable to, somebody that you can bounce your feelings off of, and whatever else you feel is bothering you, and not get judged for it. So once you had
Yeah.
Okay.
You're so right. Men don't have enough outlets. I mean, people in general don't have enough outlets, but men and Black men, they don't have enough outlets. They're not even told as young boys to feel. You know what I'm saying? They're told to be strong, be a man. You know, you do this. And so then when you become an adult, and then a woman is asking you to feel and love and be in your vulnerable bag, you're like, what? They don't know how to do that. And then their friends are not practicing that either. So like he said, he didn't have that tribe. And, you know, and I'm the same way until I started getting around women who were talking the way that, you know, I speak now about men. Most of my old friends, men ain't shit. you know, and then that if that's what you think, then that's what you're gonna get.
It's a
And
mantra.
now, you know, all of my friends, we all waiting for our kings, like, you know, but it's a mindset, it's a growth set, you know what I'm saying? Because 5 years ago, men weren't shit. Now I'm waiting for my husband. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, that's why I was attracting ain't shit men, because I thought there was ain't shit men in this world. Now I'm like, oh, you just see the type of DMs I get now. I'm like, oh, hey,
Talk about it.
you checking for me now? I didn't even think I was on your level. You know what I'm saying? Like, men I admire. I'm like, oh, you checking for me? But that's what I'm saying. It's because my vibration was so low. Your vibe is your tribe, right? So if you hang around low vibrational people, that's what you're gonna get, and that's where you're gonna live. And I was doing the same thing, and so now I'm like, oh, my mind is different. And so that your world starts opening up so much differently. And so I agree to what he's saying. You got to get you a good tribe, get you some good friends, get you some accountability partners, some people that are gonna like not let you fail, and you're in there. You're in there because they're not going to let you fall. But you got friends that, if you got a friend that is your gym buddy and you call them and you're like, I don't want to go today, and they're like, yeah, me either, that's not the right buddy. That's not the right buddy, you know. So, you know, I really agreed with what he said, because so similar to what was going on in my life.
Absolutely. What were your thoughts on what he said, Keandra?
Man, it was that key word, accountability. You know, I feel like a lot of men, you know, and other men can vouch for it, and they've shared in the interviews, but a lot of men lack accountability from other men. Like men who can actually tell the truth to them about themselves, you know, men that can, you know, also give them like feedback that's not this lower level, but that meets a higher vibration of what it is and where it is that they're trying to go in their lives. Like that is so golden, and you know, everyone needs it. You know, we're women and men, we're no different in that way, that we all need that accountability. But it definitely seems to be something where more of that is becoming more available, you know, for men. I don't know that it was something that was always readily accessible. I don't know that even a lot of men still really know where to even find that, you know, like how to find these places of support and places to connect with men who are committed to their personal growth. And again, will have someone to tell them the truth about themselves. Like I don't think that it's cool that if your friend is a serial cheater, nobody in that friend circle is basically speaking up or letting him know, or calling him out on some of that, especially if he's married, as a family, and ducking out on some of his responsibilities and tricking off money. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, who in your life can tell you about yourself? You know what I mean? Because we know that you're sharing the stories. So, you know,
And his
like,
homies over there living vicariously through him.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Picture
So
stories.
all of it, you seeing all the details, you know all of it, but yet nobody's able to really tell you the truth of not only how it's impacting somebody else's life, but your own life. You know, like that is definitely something where there could be a lot of growth. And you know, I'm glad that Marcus is, you know, an example of someone who has found that for himself and can share the benefits of it and how important it is. And I'm sure, you know, we're even seeing the fruit of it just with his interview, and him being willing to stick around, you know, in his relationship and not flee, you know. So yeah, we all need accountability.
Yeah, I completely agree. Both of you, very well said. And just to give a little bit more about Marcus, he actually started a boys group home. So what he learned actually goes a step further. And now he's sharing that light, that love, that tightness, that accountability. And what he's able to see from creating a space where men can speak, hear the truth via love, um, with people that they trust, he's like, they're happy. Like it went from, hey man, like what's up, to what's up, bro? Like you're open, you're free. There's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no, you know, somebody has your back. I feel like the same family vibe that dudes from the street are looking for, somebody to have their back, somebody to tell them this. It can be found in other ways if, you know, the environment is set right, because that's what it is. It's still love. It's being able to talk and to communicate. And I really appreciated this because it helps me humanize men. I will tell you all the time that I was the first person to think, oh, men don't have emotions. Just because I wasn't willing to go deeper to understand, and I'm basing my interactions off the surface level of what I'm interacting with men. I just thought, oh yeah, men and women are different, and emotions is something they didn't get. But we're all experiencing the human experience, and that's just not true. So it was very important to me to ask these questions to uncover what your emotions look like. Why are they so buried? How do we open things up so we have space to communicate? And this is something that we have to low key like give to men. You know, like you said earlier, Queen, you know, Cookie, it's not like, you know, these men are not at fault. It's not like there's not enough resources out here for them to get it together. But I just believe, coupled with understanding, we can get to a space where, all right, we're having the conversations now, because we need happy men. We can't have suppressed men and expect to have a thriving relationship. So I loved that. So that brings me to this question with y'all. When vetting a partner, should we include asking them if they have a brotherhood, an accountability group, where they feel safe to express themselves? Do you think that should now be on the table of what do you like to eat and where did you grow up?
So, you know, I'm probably different than Keandra, because Keandra got a man. But I've definitely added some new questions to my roster, only because I've added some new things in my life. And so if I'm doing these things, you need to do these things. I do remember my ex asking me if I've ever gone to therapy, and I remember telling him no, and he's like, "You never been to therapy?" And I was like, "No," you know, and I didn't know that was a big deal. And now I see, oh, that was a big deal. Now I understand why he was saying that. Oops, my bad. So yeah, adding that to my list, so that's a big one for me now. I want to know, like, have you had therapy? Have you dealt with childhood traumas? Like, you know, have you done shadow work before? Like, have you done any of these things? All of these things that I'm doing right now. What's the last book that you read? What's the last, you know, there's just different things on my list now, because I'm like, these things are important to me. I don't care if the Lakers were playing last night. I don't give a F-U-C-K. Like, I really don't. And those are the type of men that are normally attracted to me, like these buff sports world guys, but they don't got nothing to talk about. I'm like, well, I want to talk about, you know, what I read in my book, or I want to talk about this podcast that I listened to last night, or I want to talk about what my therapist said. But he can't even have those type of conversations with me because we're not on the same page. So yes, in my dating world now, my questions are different, because I need to understand, can we communicate? Are we on the same vibration? Are we? Because I don't live in that world anymore. I used to be that girl that knew every LeBron James stat. I used to know when the game was coming on. I used to be right there with my beer and like, yeah! Now, I don't even care about that. I'm just worried about getting myself to the next level and doing the things that, you know, feed my soul. And so I can't be with somebody like that. Now, is it okay to go to the game every now and then and have fun? Absolutely. But if you live in that world, like, we don't go together. And those are just certain things that I'm learning, Jaimi, and adding those questions in my dating life. And you'd be surprised how with the different type of men that you attract when you start asking those questions, because you weed out all the BS. You weed out all the BS.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the questions that I actually asked of, you know, the last couple of relationships that I was in and my current one was, who was their biggest influence, their biggest male influence in their upbringing, you know, because, you know, because not, you know, a lot of us didn't necessarily grow up with, you know, a father, you know, in the home, or if we did, they may not have been our biological father. And, you know, there's just a lot of fatherhood dynamics, especially within the Black community. Obviously, we're aware of that, but men learn through modeled behavior. And so at some point, and I do remember for sure that it was, you know, in the last couple of relationships that I've been in, but I'm not really sure when it was that I, got the epiphany to even, include it in, the list of things to get to know, to understand this person. But it definitely is very telling, like what was basically the philosophy of the person that spoke the most in your life. Were they married? Did they believe in marriage? Did they have, a lot of children? Are they responsible? What is their work ethic? What do they believe about, respect and, just all of those things, just their integrity, and just even listening to those stories. I think those things can be so telling about, the man that you're dealing with, and even being able to hear the areas where there may even be some fatherhood wounds that can show up, in the relationship, as it could for any of us. But I think those are definitely some very important questions, to ask. And I don't know if it comes, I wouldn't recommend it being first dates questions.
So,
right. I don't
I have a
recommend it
glass
being
of
the
wine
first
now.
date.
Who is your male?
But, if it's somebody that that you're feeling, right? If
Like,
it's someone that you're feeling and you
who
see
raised
some questions,
you?
yeah, like definitely ask that question. I think it certainly will let you in on who you're dealing with.
No, I love that. That's so powerful. And, before we move on to the next question, either of you can ask, but Keandra, especially because you work as a coach and you have surrendered society and you've done surrender sessions where, and I've been there where we've gotten women together and things. And so, as women, I mean, what value do you find in sisterhood that helps you navigate relationships? And how do you see that reflected in the gatherings that you have?
I think the most valuable thing is just the witness. Like it literally is just simply having someone else listen and being able to create a safe space for someone to feel that they can actually share whatever it is, because even though we've all been a part of groups or organizations or churches, where it's like the idea is that it's supposed to be safe and that you can be yourself and that you can share, and that you can basically say whatever it is that you need to say to get it off your heart without someone trying to police your tone or the language or, even the manner in which it's coming out. And whenever there's just that opportunity just to get it out for whatever it is that's on people's hearts, it always still, to this day is something that just fills me so much, and why I love doing it, of how much lighter people, or especially the women, how much lighter their countenance is once they leave, or just how much, their breath, they can take a deeper breath or a deeper inhale or exhale because of just being able to lift whatever the weight of whatever it may have been that they were carrying, and being in a place that other women can just witness, like, yeah, me too, like you're not the only one that has struggled with, the thing that you're dealing with. So the witness, I think, has been one of the most valuable things about it, for sure, and rewarding.
Yeah.
I love that so much. What were you going to say? That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, definitely similar to Keandra. Tribe is important. For me, it's about having that third party, and that outside ear, because it's like sometimes when you're in something, you can't see it. And then you tell one of your girls who can see it clearer than you, and they're going to tell you the truth. And that's what I like about having a sisterhood of friends, is being like, girl, let me tell you, and tell me if I'm tripping. And then believing that she's going to tell me whether or not I'm tripping, and then not be mad when I hear what she says. And so that's been what's important about me, is just being able to have people that will tell you the truth, even when you're wrong, and knowing that afterwards it's all love. it's all love, and it's easier coming from somebody that's not involved than it would be like hearing from your partner or something like that, or somebody you're already upset with. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that, but yeah, that's what I love, having a tribe, a circle, a sisterhood, is just for that outside ear, that outside force that you need sometimes, that escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know the technical term of it, but it's like, it's the confession. It's the thing that when it's coming out your mouth and the release of it, that allows that energy to come in and start to heal it and get in there and move it around in a way where you can begin to address it and tackle it in different ways. And I love how Marcus, he was very specific about doing it around people that you can trust. And so that's why I love the space that you create, Keandra, and how you talk about we talk about church groups, but it's like the non-policing of it, because I feel like I've censored myself, because a lot of the times I feel very misunderstood, and there is parts of me that knows my truth, but I have gotten comfortable in tailoring my language around things so other people feel comfortable. They're not, flipping out, because like I'm telling y'all, I could be real wild. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm a passionate person. But if I'm passionate around the wrong person, I feel like the signals get crossed. And I think about that all the time in relationships. Like, man, is he gonna love me? Like, if I wake up one day and I'm like, I hate people, like, is he gonna understand like what that really means? Or is he gonna take it personal and start to think I can't take her no well because she hate people? And like, it's a small thing, but all I'm saying is like, because I'm the same way with my brunch and everything, I want to create space for people to be who they are. That's very important to me, especially because God made us all different for a reason. So don't shame or down or police or crap on people, how they're showing up and how they're saying things. Try to have an understanding ear. Try to create the space that you want them to have. Try to create the space for them that you would like to have when you're just sharing. We're complex beings, and it's just not fair that everything is very tailored and cookie cutter. I'm not like that. So of course, everybody's not going to see all my colors. That's just not going to happen. But I like to have people around who I feel safe. If I got to vent or say what I'm saying, blah, blah, my heart, where I'm coming from, how I'm going to fix this and address. But yeah, I said what I said. So that is, one part of it. So anybody watching, I encourage you, though, if you have been in a group or around people who weren't as accepting of who you were, how you said things, what you were going through, and you felt shamed, I encourage you to keep your heart open and continue to just sharpen your discernment and find the right people for you. Because as we've discussed in this discussion, it's a lot more detrimental to keep it in or to not say anything, and all of these things. You're doing yourself a disservice. So even if you get hurt, I know we've all been there, but that doesn't mean all people are not going to accept what you have to say. All people are going to shut you down. All people are going to think you're weird or whatever the case. So anybody hearing this, I just challenge you to just, all right, that didn't work. Let me just continue to find something else, because there's nothing wrong with me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
So this takes us to our last topic. And I titled this segment A Happy Man. And we're going to dive right in.
We got this thing called, my wife came up with, it's hats. We have we have these different hats. You have Marcus and Nicole, you got your dad hat, you got your husband hat, you got your business owner hat, and you go through years and you lose your Marcus hat because you're so caught up in putting all these other hats on. So when it's time to actually go talk to your wife, you can't find it. Because because remember, when we date, how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
If you got this far, usually you got a thing that you do.
Correct.
Well, you sort of forget that, and so I had to learn to find my Marcus and talk to my wife, and it's helped a lot. So, which is why I'm happy.
He's so cute. He's like, which is why I'm happy. Like, I love it. Because there's something beautiful about a happy man. You don't have to be stoic. You don't have to be. It's something that I admire about Will Smith. I don't know everything about his private life, but to be fun and joke and not take things seriously, smile, be compassionate, empathetic, like lively, is cool. Like, I get you might not have grown up thinking that that's masculine, but I just love that. So, Cookie, you have a son. Keandra, you got a man. We got jobs and all this stuff. So my question to you guys is, how do you think we can consciously maintain our self hat, or the Jaimi hat, the Cookie hat, the Keandra hat, without the chaos of having to navigate in all these fields that we're expected to show up in?
Yeah, I learning that lesson right now. I had my mommy hat on for the last 2 years, and then I forgot who I was because I was like, yeah, where's my Erica hat? Where's my Cookie hat? And so that clip, that was my favorite part of your show from Tuesday, by the way, because I felt so much of that. We wear all of these hats, right? But we never wear ours. And that's what I'm trying to learn right now. And I know if you guys follow me on social media, you probably see this screaming out of my soul right now, just trying to find me because I lost my hat. I misplaced my hat. I don't know where I went. It's in a closet somewhere because I got my mommy hat on all the time. And then when I have my mommy hat off, when my son's at daycare, I got my work hat on. And then I never put my hat back on. So that's where, you guys see me coming out right now is just, oh, I found my mommy. I found my Erica hat. I found it. And, just trying to wear it as much as possible. Trying to wear it as much as possible. Because when I show up, it makes all my other hats fit better when I have it underneath all those other ones. When I don't have my hat on, it makes the other ones fit weird. And so that's what I'm learning about myself. I need to have it on. And even when I have the other ones on, I need it underneath those, never lose that hat. And that's the biggest thing I can say because I lost my hat. I lost my hat. And I'm so glad that I found it. I'm not taking it off anymore.
Yeah.
I'm taking a shower with that thing.
I love that. So well said.
So well said. Yes. I think, there have been different seasons when I've lost the Keandra hat, like it can either be consumed with, being overly ambitious and more focused on the career than it could have been consumed with trying to be, just the enlightened, the healed, the growing person. I think that we can even become consumed with that so much to the point where we're obsessed, with our growth and obsessed with, the self-help books and, all of that. And even getting lost in relationship. And I think, the way back to self is, it can look different for everyone, like what Cookie just shared of, what she's sharing on her Instagram, y'all, she's had a lot of these like pictures where she is just basically bearing it all, y'all. And I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, the journey looks different for everyone, but for me, it also is, just to kind of, I can't necessarily put words to a specific activity, but really what it involves is basically just stripping myself of all of the things, all of the roles, and allowing myself to just be, and oftentimes, I guess, actually I can put an activity to it. A lot of times I would find that when I was traveling alone with the solo trips, not the group ones, and not the ones with just the home girl or even the boyfriend, whatever, but the ones where I'm basically just spending time with myself and allowing myself to actually have that time by myself and not be distracted, not hopping on the social media, and just doing the mindless scroll, but being present, and feeling back into okay, what are the thoughts that are mine, not the thoughts or the things that other people have said, and what is it that I might want to eat? What is it that I might want to do, and just allowing myself to explore and learn. And that's one of the beautiful things that I've learned through solo travel, was a deeper awareness of myself. But that's just one of the many ways, I guess, that you can find your way back to you and to your happy. But I think it's a conscious decision to kind of strip yourself of all of those other titles and things, and take a moment to really just get present with, like, who are you? Like, and what is it that you even want in that moment?
Gosh, that was so well said. Even as you were talking, I was having aha moments, because I was like, at first I was like, well, I'm not a wife, I'm not a mom, I'm kind of working right now, and my life is not too crazy at the moment, which is beautiful because I haven't had much time to experience that. But when you talk about it just being kind of like the leadership role, and that just makes me think, yeah, because last year I had to unplug in a very particular way. Even so much so I felt like I had to apologize to some people, because it's like, I know you're used to hearing from me, but right now I can't, because it was very important for me to hear my voice. And like you said, not even doing the mindless scroll and this and that, but get back to the beingness of me. And again, going back to the top of the show, when I said I appreciated the value of my single season, I want to be aware of that, and aware of what, modalities will help me stay in that space. So you just mentioned solo travel, and I've actually been craving that. Like, I want to go to Tulum by myself. My little sister, and well, she's always been like that, but now she got a little bun in the oven. She's like, no, because people are that. I was like, are you mommying me? Like, if I want to go, I want to go. Because you're right. There's something about being so removed that you find your way back to you. And I actually didn't think about the scrolling, the leadership, the how you have to show up. Because, I'm not a spiritual guru or anything. I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm sharing what I'm sharing because we're growing together. It's not a holier than thou situation, but I still have a responsibility to show up. If I'm telling you, we got to think like this. I wrote The Power of Posture, which is my course that you can find in link in bio at my Instagram. But I'm doing all of this stuff, and I got to be able to, I find it my responsibility to live what I'm speaking, because that's who I would be regardless of social media or not. However, when you are, it's not a performance, but when you are focused on showing up in a particular way, it's still almost something outside of you, because you're attaining, you're striving, you're moving towards. It's a good thing. But just to be Jaimi, like, plain old, like, I want to continue to find more ways to do that and get so in the rhythm of it that when relationship does come for me, I'm always available for my man as the woman he met me, and for me, available for me.
Yeah, and realizing that those moments, and the times when you notice that you may have lost yourself, because I think it naturally, I don't know if it naturally happens. Maybe it does. Maybe it naturally happens to everyone, just in the seasons of growing into, a wife and mother, and just the different responsibilities and the routines and just all of it. It can be very new. I think that you'll lose yourself again and again and again, and so it's basically realizing that it's just something of not losing your core routines, or having those moments of check-in and being okay with it. Maybe the way that you found yourself in a single season might look a little different once you have a little baby, or whatever it is, but being open to it changing over time too, I think it's a gift that we can give ourselves, because it will be different, and it will happen when different things come into your life, and it does take work to kind of just stay focused on just you. But, we're all so socialized to be more externally focused, that I think it tends to be something that all of us can fall into, of just kind of being like, wait a minute, where am I? What is it that I actually want? I don't even know, and then you have to meltdown.
Right, yeah, whole meltdown.
Just trying to figure out what to eat.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's like, it's such a simple question, but I don't know how I feel.
Hi, Burbank.
That's a hard ass question sometimes.
Sometimes it really is. Like, shoot, just pick something. You tell me. My God. No, I love that. I totally enjoyed this conversation and everything that we learned. And at the very end, I picked a quote that Marcus said, especially because depending on who you're following or what you're listening to or who you're connected to, sometimes people speak negatively to the institution of marriage. And I personally believe it's because, one, we didn't learn how to properly vet our partners. I don't think it's necessarily the institution, but people are just burned, and they hear, when you hear certain things, you pick it up, you start saying stuff, and you might not even have the full details of what or why, or you might be speaking from a broken place, and you just start to have these ideas of marriage. But this man, he's a grown man, he's a businessman, he found his life partner, he is a father, he is a son. And Marcus' quote was, "I've gotten more being married than I did before I got married. When people tell me they've gotten married, I tell them, welcome to the stronger side." So I thought that was really nice to speak to the power of the union and the marriage and what's possible, especially if you do your work, vet correctly, and pick the right person. Like, we don't always get it right. And it's not going to be easy, but life isn't easy anyway. You're going to have these struggles and hurdles solo. You're going to have it. So why not sync up with the right person and find yourself, on the stronger side of life? And that's coming from a married man. So, boop.
I agree. I mean, it's like marriage is like an investment, right? And so it's like you want to invest in one person and, have it be a really strong investment, or are you going to spread yourself you can spread your money out all over the place, And so it's like, yeah, of course. I mean, there's even that Bible verse, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't know, but like, he who finds a wife finds whatever they say,
a good thing.
A good thing. Yeah,
he
there
who
you go.
finds a wife finds a good thing.
There you go, that one. And but there's definitely truth to that, because especially when you have a great wife, a good wife, one that's going to hold you down, one that's going to hold down the household and take care of your children and be there to hold you down too in your hardships. There's power in that. Why would you want to be laying in all these other beds when you can just lay in one and know she got your back 100%? So there's always power in, that for sure. And I think we learned that in Nate's video too, when he was talking about being with all these different women. You're just like, you're just spreading yourself out, and there's not power in that. There's not any power in that.
Correct. And there might be value in the season. I'm sure we've all, dated more than our share, and it didn't always look like, oh, my husband. It was like
more than our share.
So there's a season, because I know there's some people like, well, it might not be. And if you're not in that season, cool. We know that there are seasons. But when you are really looking for something and want to put those roots in the ground, your wife could be the fertile soil that grows your legacy. And if you're a legacy-minded person, then it's time to get in line, look at some of these things, pull it together, be the best version of yourself, read, gain knowledge, have conversations, accountability, all the stuff that we talked about, and get it moving, just as you would if you wanted to make $1 million in your business. So we've hit our hour, but before we go, really quick, we have our special segment, Trending on Social. So I found a clip on social media that I feel like speaks perfectly to men, their feelings, and what can happen when they're not expressed and honored in a particular way, especially when it comes to a marriage. So let's run it.
I've been married twice, and I was never a good husband. The second time, I was a good husband for the first 8 or 9 years. But after a while, I wasn't getting certain things at home. Never initiated sex, never made me feel sexy, never made me feel good about myself. Only time she ever told me she loved me was when I was walking out the door, but I never felt love.
Right.
And it was, nothing was happening at home.
Right.
And even when I would ask her for sex, it would be like, can I get a rain check? Like, the fuck am I get a rain check? Say the damn story. Say the damn Piggly Wiggly. You know what I mean? And so that kept on happening, and I did not feel good about myself, and I became depressed. So I understand where he's coming from. I started gaining weight, and after a while, I did not want to cheat, because I had been faithful for a long period of time. And I tried to stay there because my first marriage, I was a dog. I really was a dog. So I was trying to do it the right way. And then eventually you run into somebody that tells you everything that you want to hear.
And it be like that sometimes.
Mm.
So I don't know. I picked that clip because you hear about it often, especially I talked about the downside of marriage and relationships that everybody's like, oh, if I'm not getting it at home, I'm going to do this and that. Da, da. Cool. I understand. But what pre-work can we do to ensure that we're not getting there? Now that we have Black male therapists and therapy and childhood wounds and all these things are conversations, how can we equip ourselves to get into them in a way where we can kind of shift that a little bit and not just be like, well, I wasn't getting it at home, so you know what I'm saying? We understand that's a reality, but again, it's having these conversations that says, okay, how do I learn how to talk to my husband? And how does my husband learn to talk to me? Because you see, Marcus, on the other hand, is happy as a clam because he has the communication. Whereas Mike was sharing in his last relationship, he didn't have that. Because it also makes me wonder, like, how clear were you in letting her know that you only tell me you love me when I'm walking out the door? What you mean we not having, all of the things. So anyway, what did you guys think of the clip? And how did that make sense to you?
It was
It just
right. It was definitely a lot. I don't think anyone wants to have to go through multiple marriages in order to learn certain lessons, just because it's such a serious investment and so much, goes into it. I mean, I'm not sure if he had, just a large wedding or anything for each marriage, but that alone, is a lot, that can go into every relationship. But I think that it just really, I guess, maybe there's parts of the clip where he goes into that, but just the power of being able to have other people around him that could, I don't know, maybe help him through those moments when he was being a dog in his first his first marriage,
right.
and learning different ways to basically deal with some of that frustration, and just like you said, like choosing another path as opposed to acting out with just like, well, I'm gonna just go out and get it, with someone else. Basically, kind of trying to work through it in that relationship. I think that in order to get to that place, both people have to go into it with being committed to continuing to do their own self-work, but then also figuring out what are the tools that we need to actually keep our relationship strengthened when we are together. And so if that means we're seeking out together couples therapy or seeking out other couples who we can actually glean something from, like it's not just our kick it couples, but
Right.
like couples where we can actually they have some wisdom. They've been in the game for a long period of time. I think that can also be valuable to help you when you're going through those difficult seasons, or the moments when you don't understand or you're not getting your needs met, and you, rather than acting out, that you can actually come to your partner with the vulnerability, and also hope that your partner is equipped to listen, and you know what I mean, just all the things that we've, I
Wow.
think, really just touched on earlier. I think it requires both people coming to the table, being committed to doing that. And then it is helpful to have those individual communities and tribes, that you can also kind of tap back into for that support. Because I don't think that people can make it by themselves.
I agree. I mean, like very well said. Because while you were talking, I was thinking like, yeah, when you're starving, is somebody barbecuing? I'm trying to look over the fence because I'm hungry. So I get it. I don't want to discredit anybody in their feelings, because I know how it is to feel parched or hungry in a certain vertical. And it's like, it does make it easier to be like, well, I'm gonna just go eat dinner over here and I'll come back. I love you. I want to be here. I don't want to cheat because I've committed to you. I've committed to me, but I'm hungry. I'm really hungry, so that's a tough position to be in. What'd you think, Queen Cookie?
Well, when I heard his clip, I actually heard a lot of different things, and we can probably like go crazy over his clip. But it was so funny because I was just talking about this in my podcast sidebar.
Ooh.
But coming to a relationship whole, because that's what I heard from him. She wasn't making me feel sexy. She wasn't making me feel. Sorry, my son's literally I got my son go. He's turning my light up. Turn my light off for me. Sorry, but that's what I heard. Stop it right now. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys.
We're almost done, 7. You can have her back in a minute.
I know. Oh my word. But anyways, what I heard from him is she's not making me feel sexy. She's not giving me sex. She's not doing. She don't gotta do any of that damn thing. If you ain't bringing nothing to the table, why does she have to keep doing all this stuff? And yeah, if you're not even grown enough to talk about that, then don't expect her to even be knowing what you're talking about. So I heard a lot of different layers in that clip. But I'm glad that, you know, maybe he'll be in his third marriage because he was already in 2. And maybe this time he'll get it. Yeah, maybe this time he'll get it right, because I think he was looking for external happiness. He was looking for her to fill the voids in him. And so when she wasn't, he was going outside of the marriage to do those things. And so that was kind of what I heard through his conversation, was that, you know, he was looking outside of their marriage in the beginning, you know, because he came in with the open mind, like, oh, you here to please me, right? You here to be my, you know, my queen, my you're here to do everything. What do they say when you get married? You're supposed to what do we say? It's S word, not surrender, but
serve or submit.
Submit. Yeah, I'm like he thought he was about to have a sex slave on his hand. Like, you know, she ain't giving me no sex. Like, what do you mean? Were you doing things that were getting her in the mood to have sex? All right, y'all, I'm gonna go on mute.
Okay, awesome. No, but you're right. And 7 was like, this is.
He's like, no.
Welcome to mom life, guys. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to have him tonight, but daddy has COVID, so yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but really quick, and of course, we don't know the whole situation. So part of this is speaking to it hypothetical, but that does make me think too, like, okay, because I think of the times I've been in a relationship and I was like, I don't want, and it's because he was acting in a way I was just like, but I don't want, no, like, yeah, I'm not turned on right now. And you know what, like, this is, you know, so again, but we all grow and get mature and learn how to do things. But this was a super fun conversation. I think we all learned so much. And I hope you watching learned and continue to tune in. You know, we'll be back in a week. Let's see. Do I have Tuesday is, gosh, I have somebody on the calendar for King's Speak, but I can't think of it right now. I low-key think it's Brandon Alexander, but I can't remember. New agent. So anyway, whatever. We got a whole lineup for the whole month. We got more Kings speaking, and we're going to come back and glean on that, see if we're picking up what they're putting down. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're not following Kings Speak on Instagram, please do follow me here. Also, if you believe in the power of alignment and femininity and being in the flow and the ease of things and really figuring out what things are authentic to you so you can magnetize those things to you, please go to my Instagram right here, Jaimi Alexander. Click the link in bio and check out the power of posture. So that's my thing. Queen Cookie, I want to hear all about your podcast. Do you have a minute, or should we go to Keandra and come back to you?
Yeah, you know, let me get my minute in because I might not have it after.
Right.
So thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry about the little interruption. Mom might never stop, but finally launched my podcast called Loving Good Music. You guys can do the same. Follow me at Queen Cookie, somewhere around here. How can I find my finger? There we go. And you'll find it there. And it's just been a journey to finally get back here. I'm sure I felt just as relieved as you did when the power of posture came out, Jaimi. It was just like, oh, it's finally here. You know, all the hard work just finally there. So just excited it's out and it's alive and it's breathing. I feel like I gave birth, and you know, now it's just a raising it up process. So just excited. Thank you for this platform as always. I love it, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Kidless.
Yes, ma'am.
Like,
And what about you, Keandra? What's your tea?
my tea is, you can find me on Instagram at Keandra_D. I'm gonna try to find, there's my finger right there. You can find me there on Instagram. And then also what we talked about a little bit earlier that was touched on, thank you, Jaimi, for bringing it up, is the Surrender Society, which is a Facebook group for women of purpose who are wanting their lives to be more centered around well-being. And so if you are interested in finding a group of like-minded women who are purpose-filled, spirit-filled, but also are just cool and like to just be themselves, and having a safe space to just be all of those, beautiful, wonderful things, then find me there. Would love to have you.
Yes. So we'll see you all on Tuesday for the next episode of Kings Speak. And then we're back Thursday for Queens Glean. Thank you so much for tuning in. And those of you catching the replay, thank you. Retweet, like, share, comment. We want to hear your feedback, and we will see you next week. So good night.
Good night.